Hello everyone, this is the Picking Bass Player. This is the first in a series of videos about making my first ever challenge lock. I had marvelous plans for this video. I was going to remove the lock from the packaging on camera, then pick it open blindly, take it apart in all one continuous take. I guess you can call me Icarus, because what I ended up doing was making a 7-minute long video full of expletives in which I call this lock every name in the book while struggling to get it open. So I don't feel great about it, but this is still a new hobby to me, so I'm not going to beat myself up too much. I think the source of my frustration was in trying to assess which tools I should use. The first pick was too thick, the second too thin. I felt like I almost was going to break it. Bottom of the keyway tension seemed like it was working, then top of the keyway ended up working better for me. So in my last video, I already spent a good amount of time talking about this. This is the Master Lock 930 DPF is what it says on here. So let's just get it open and take it apart. This thing is really heavy. All right, so I'll be using a 40 thousandths top of keyway tension tool and using the long side of it because that keyway is pretty recessed. And then a 25 thousandths thick short hook. So I have picked this open a few times, and what I found is that there may be, I haven't taken it apart yet. There might be a security pin or two in there because it seems like I get things set pretty consistently, but then I always have to go to the back, and then there's 1 or 2 pins that I have to reset. So it could just be the tolerances of the lock, that the holes are not perfectly straight along the keyway there, and that some of them, you know, just a little off center enough to where when you set some of the other ones, those ones fall back down and you have to go back and set them. So that might be what I'm dealing with here, but we'll find out. I'm gonna take this thing apart. All right. There we go. All right. So with this thing, it's got some serious tension on it. So I have to turn it really hard, and then the shackle is not spring loaded, so I have to pull it out. All right, so there, we've got it open. So there's the, well, arguably the easy part out of the way. So let me go ahead and clear this out. Oh, and by the way, here's what the key looks like. You know, not terrible, but not great. Go ahead and show you that it works. All right, so let's take this apart. There's a little Phillips head screw. I'm not sure if you can see that down there, but let's see. I'm out of there. Feels loose. If I push that ball bearing out of the way, it'll probably just drop out of there. Yep. Set that aside. There's the piece that holds the screw in place. Let's get the faceplate off. There we go. Everything popping out nicely. So we can set this aside now. There's that. Okay. So I don't have one of those special tools for removing these things, so I'm just going to use a little tiny flathead screwdriver here, and maybe a little bit smaller than that. Yeah. And try to pop that C-clip off of there. Keep my thumb on it so it doesn't go flying in a crazy direction here. There we go. There's that. All right, so we do have the key, so we'll insert that. And let me figure out what follower I need to use. That's probably going to be big. Yeah, that's too big. I think this one's my smallest one. And that looks to be about the right size. So I'm going to turn this slightly, maybe not quite 90 degrees, because I don't want to have to deal with this gap right here. I don't want pins to just start shooting out when I push the core out of the Bible here. So I think that ought to be good. Oh, okay. That's always the part that gives me a little mini panic attack. Alright, let's get these pins out of here and see what max pick resistance looks like. I'm going to shift the camera over a little bit here to the pinning section of my blue mat. Number 1 looks like standard. Number 2, also standard. 3, standard. Oh, if these are all standard pins, I'm really gonna feel even more embarrassed about my earlier screw up. And last one, number 5. He's gonna be a standard, I bet. Alright. Well, these are just the key pins. If there's any magic in this lock, it's gonna be in the other section. So, done with, sorry, my leg is hitting the tripod there. Alright, so yeah, if there's anything cool going on in here, it's going to be up top. So, let's see what we got. See if I can line that up so you can see it a little better. Come on up. There he is. Okay, number 1 is a standard. Number 2 is a standard. At least from what I can tell, I'll do a zoom in on these after we get them all out. Standard. Oh boy. And interesting to note that this core has 6, they've got 6 holes drilled, so this could have been a 6-pin lock, but they only put 5 in there. Not sure what the justification for that is, and judging how everything else in this lock was standard, I can't imagine that these springs are going to look any different from each other. So, yep, they're all the same size. Looks like steel springs. If I could just learn how to use tweezers, then maybe this will go a little quicker. Like I said, I'm new to this. Not just lockpicking, but tweezer use, apparently. Okay, let's straighten these out a little bit. Oh boy. I can't wait to zoom in on this because what I'm seeing is pretty ugly. But that's the whole point of what we're doing here. We're gonna make this thing a little bit more pretty. All right, so let's look at these pins. Alright, so they're incredibly rounded on the ends. And what that is doing is essentially making the shear line larger, so that it makes it a little bit easier to pick. I say that with embarrassment, knowing how much I struggled to get this thing open, but there we go. So now what we're going to do in the next video is we're going to take all these components, or a lot of them anyway, and make things a lot more difficult to get open. The only thing I'm going to leave alone, well, actually not true. I'm not going to be messing with the actual locking mechanism down inside of the padlock here, but I am going to be engraving the name on the face of this. Now, so this could have gone better, but for me, this is all about learning a new skill. We're going to have screw-ups from time to time, and there's no point in dwelling on beginner mistakes. So the next video in this series will be all about modifying the internal components of the lock to make it more secure. After that, I'll be engraving the name into the padlock before sending it off to another member of the Locksport community by the name of Mr. Paradise, Pickin' Paradise, as he always says. My thanks to Mr. Paradise for providing an excellent name for my first challenge lock, which I will reveal to you guys at the end of the series. So, thanks for watching this video. Please remember, pick locks, not bases, and only pick locks you own which are not in use.